What is going on, everybody? This is Johnny, and today I'm going to show you how to make Chicken Zoodle Soup. We're up in your keto game. It's the new year. People are trying to lose some lbs. They want to better themselves. Plus, it's winter, so it's a win-win. If people are sick, they're going to love this soup. It's going to give them the warm and fuzzies inside, and, it's great. We're going to use the stock that we made in the previous video. You can find a link to that probably up here somewhere. And we're also going to use some of the leftover meat from that rotisserie chicken that I just had sitting in the fridge. Now, if you have a lot of leftover chicken, you can just freeze that and use it for the soup later. It's a good 1-2 punch. Make stock, make soup. Here's what you'll need. We're going to start out by trimming off both ends of our celery. You can split the larger parts of the stalk down the middle and then slice into 1/4 to 1/2 inch pieces. We're going to give our carrots a little peel and then cut them into more manageable 3 or 4 inch pieces. And cut the larger pieces in half and the much larger pieces into quarters. Then we can proceed to cut the carrots into 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch pieces. Having them be a little bit more consistent in size will allow us to have a consistent texture. We then need to dice our onion. Cut off the stem end, cut it down the center through the root, and peel it. Now, I found the easiest way to dice an onion is to do a couple horizontal cuts, being sure not to go all the way to the root, just stopping short of it, and then do vertical cuts to the size that you want your dice. From here, cut perpendicular to the board, and you have a diced onion. Clean up around the root, and all is well. Cut your lemon in half and set that aside for later. Now we need to make our zoodles. This is a microplane spiralizer. I don't really like it because it wants to eat your fingers once you get towards the end of the zucchini. I have added one in the description that I think is a much better design. We're just going to feed this in and give it quite a few turns, creating our zucchini noodles or zoodles. You will have the core left over as well as a little nub. I chopped those up and put them in the soup. Next, you need to clean your parsley. Just pick off the leaves. You can use the stems for making stock at a later date, and then give it a rough chop. I did forget to mention that I really enjoy a few sprigs of thyme in this, but it is optional. We need a large pot on a burner with some fat in it. You can use butter or olive oil. Here I'm using beef tallow that I rendered from a brisket. Add your onions, put on medium-high heat, and then add a little bit of salt. We're going to cook these onions for about 5 minutes. This will help bring out the sweetness a little bit. Just remember to stir occasionally so they do not burn. After those 5 minutes, we can now add our carrots. We're going to go another 2-3 minutes on the carrots, touch more salt. We want to be seasoning our layers as we go. If we have well-seasoned layers, by the time we get to the end, we won't have much seasoning left to do. We can then add our celery. We're going to let this go another 2 minutes, give it a good stir, and let everything just get happy together. And once that's had a little time, we can add our thyme. That's not an intended pun, I do apologize. At this point, we can add our stock. You're going to notice that after I've pulled this out of the fridge, it's pretty much like a gelatinous goo. That's a good sign. It just means it has quite a bit of collagen in it. It's going to give the texture of the soup a very nice mouthfeel. It's going to be very rich and good for your hair, skin, nails, health, whatever. Once we get our 2 quarts of stock in, we then want to add 2 quarts of water. Don't forget to add a pinch of peppercorns and your 2 bay leaves. We're then going to turn up the heat to high or medium high until we get this to about a rolling boil, and then we can go back down to a medium low in order for it to simmer. Now we want to cook this for maybe 10 minutes. It could be a little bit longer. We want to test our carrots. We want a little bit of resistance to them, but they need to be somewhat fork tender. Here you can see that's a little too early. We're going to give it another few minutes. And when we go to test it, you should be able to push a fork into the carrot but still have some resistance. This will give you a nice texture to your soup. There's nothing worse than having a soup where everything is just complete mush. And that looks to be about perfect. Now we can go ahead and add our chicken. 3 to 4 cups should be enough. You could always use more or less depending on how you like your soup. And then about a half cup to a cup of chopped parsley. Again, you can do this to your own taste. We can then go ahead and add the juice of a lemon. This is going to help brighten everything up a little bit. And last but not least, add your Zoodles. From here on out, you can turn off your burner. The residual heat that the soup is holding will cook the Zoodles for you. Again, we don't want them to turn into mush. And as always, give it a little taste to make sure it is seasoned appropriately. As this sits, some of the ingredients will absorb the salt, so you might need to add a little bit more later. And our soup is done and ready to serve. And that is how you make Chicken Zoodle Soup. Not only is it low carb, but it's also delicious. If you're not on the keto, well, add noodles. One last thing. Only about 4% of the people who watch this channel are subscribed. So if you like what you see, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll be seeing you. Chicken Noodle Soup. It doesn't suck.